Hey guys, um, it's Mrs. Sadler, and if you can't hear my kids fighting in the background, we're gonna have a little sibling squabble lesson with them. But we're back on our novel. We're on chapter 4 of Frindle, and where we left off, for what's his name? Where we left off, Nick was trying to trick Mrs. Granger and derail the lesson and get her to talk about things that had nothing to do with what the topic was. And Mrs. Granger's pretty smart, and she figured that out right away. She was not going to be tricked by this 6th grader, 5th grader, whatever he is. So, we're going to find out. We found out that she gave him a report, so we're going to see what happened with his report. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, word detective. It was a beautiful September afternoon, bright sun, cool breeze, blue sky, but not for Nick. Nick had a little report for the next day, plus copy out all the definitions for 35 words from Mrs. Granger. This was not the way school was supposed to work. Not for Nick. There was a rule at Nick's house, homework first, and that meant right after school. Nick had heard his older brother James groan and grumble about this rule for years, right up until he graduated from high school 2 years ago. And James wrote home from college after his first semester and said, "My grades are looking great. Because I came here, I already knew how to put first things first." That letter was all the proof that Nick's mom and dad needed. Here's a picture of homework first. Picture of Nick. Looking for homework first was a law from September to June. This had never bothered Nick before because he hardly ever had homework. Oh, sure, he looked over spelling words on Thursday nights, and there had been a few short book reports in the 4th grade. But other than that, nothing. Up until now, homework never spilled over into his free time. Thanks to Mrs. Granger, those days were gone. First, he looked up the definitions in the brand new red dictionary that his mom had bought, because Mrs. Granger told her to. It took almost an hour. He could hear a baseball game in John's yard down the street, yelling and shouting. Every few minutes, a sharp crack of a bat connecting with the pitch. But he had a report to do for Mrs. Granger. Nick looked at the very front of the dictionary. There was an introduction to the book called Words and Their Origins. Perfect, Nick thought. It's just what he needed to do his report. It would all be over in a few minutes. Nick could already feel the sun and breeze on his face, and he ran to play. Homework all done. Then he read the first sentence from the introduction. Without question, this modern American dictionary is one of the most surprising, complex, profound documents ever to be created, for it embodies unparalleled epological detail, reflecting not only superb lexicograph scholarship, but also the dreams and speech and imaginative talents of millions of people over thousands of years. For every person who has ever spoken or written in English has had a hand in its making. What? Nick scratched his head and read it again, and then again. Not much better. It was sort of like trying to read the ingredients on a shampoo bottle. He slammed the dictionary shut and walked downstairs. Nick's family did a lot of reading, so bookshelves covered 3/4 of the walls in the family room. There were 2 sets of encyclopedias, a black set for grown-ups and a red set for kids. Nick pulled out the D volume from the red set and looked up dictionary. There were 3 full pages with headings like early dictionaries, word detectives, and dictionaries. Today, not very exciting, but he had to do it. So Nick just plopped down on the couch and read all of it. And when he was finished with the kid's book, he opened the black encyclopedia and read most of what it said about dictionaries, too. He understood only about half of what he read. He leaned back on the couch and covered his eyes with his arm, trying to imagine himself giving a report on all this boring stuff. He'd be lucky to have 3 minutes worth. But because Nick was Nick, he suddenly had an idea, and it brought a grin to his face. Nick decided that giving his report would actually be fun. He could make it into something special. After all, Mrs. Granger had asked for it. Sounds kind of sneaky to me. What do you think he's going to do? If you come up with some ideas, write them down and maybe we can talk about them at our meeting next week. All right, talk to you later.